Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Cory and I'm the founder and CEO of TrustCentric Consulting. And our organization is deeply committed to whatever solution that we provide, whether it's through organizational or leadership development, we always start with trust. And our research in this area, the solutions that we provide, it's all about giving you the tools and the understanding and the methods to turn trust from something that is intangible to something that is tangible and ultimately, hopefully, transformational for you, your team, your organization, and your customers. And today what I want to talk about is the value of executive coaching. And I want to share with you just a specific example of how a coach really impacted my own life. For several years, I had been running marathons and I was committed to the sport of running, and I was trying to go for my personal records. I was able to get some progress depending on the day and the course and how I was feeling and how I had trained, those types of things. And I had moved my personal record to about 3 hours and 18 minutes. That was the best that I could do. And quite honestly, I think that the environmental conditions were favorable because it was actually from Estes Park to Loveland, Colorado, and it was a really steep decline. And although running downhill for 26.2 miles is really hard on your legs, at the end of the day, it was super helpful to allow gravity to kind of push me down the hill towards my personal best. So 3 hours and 18 minutes, that was my personal best. And then I made a decision that I wanted to see if I could train in order to qualify to run the Boston Marathon. Of course, the Boston Marathon, it's like the pinnacle experience for any long distance runner. It's hard to get into, even if you qualify based on your age group time. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be invited because it's such a competitive field in order to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I knew that I needed to move my time from a 3:18 personal best not only to an age required 3 hours and 15 minutes, but I wanted to give myself an additional 5 minutes of cushion so that I would have assurance that I would not only qualify to run the Boston Marathon, but also be invited to actually run the Boston Marathon. So my goal when I set out to think about training for the Boston Marathon, based on my age and based on the 5-minute cushion, was to run a personal best of 3 hours and 10 minutes, an 8-minute increase in my personal best. There's no way I could have done it had it not been for the great help of my running coach. His name is Justin Gerard. And Justin is somebody who, he not only is an amazing runner himself, but he also has this incredible ability to develop a plan that is customizable to each runner so that they can really maximize their own efforts in order to make a huge difference in achieving their goal. We set out on the training plan. It was a multi-week, obviously over the course of about 14 to 16 weeks. I hired Justin. He developed a plan for me based on all of his expertise and knowledge. He became the objective voice of reason and the subject matter expert when I had my rough days, when I had my good days, when I had the days where I was questioning, why do we have to do this type of running exercise? But ultimately what I did was, because of what my goal was and because of the experience that he had, I put my trust in him, and I was confident that he was going to help get me across the finish line at my qualifying race in order to qualify for the Boston Marathon. And so as we moved through the training block, I was diligent. I followed the process. I trusted him. I did the work. It was not easy. And over the course of those many weeks, I not only learned a whole lot more about what it takes to run differently to qualify for something like the Boston Marathon, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that with the help of somebody else, I could move my mindset and my discipline to a completely different level because of that level of expertise and accountability. The night before the race, it was the Chicago Marathon. The night before the race, I had one final phone call with Justin, and his encouragement for me was, you've done the work, the hay is in the barn, now what you need to do is visualize the race. And so I went into the process of visualizing the course for the Chicago Marathon, and the next day I hopped to the finish line. I hopped up to the finish line. I was ready to go. I was super excited. I felt completely ready. I joined a pacer group of individuals. So even in the course itself, even on the race day, I was able to join a pacer group. And this pacer group was focused on crossing the finish line at 3 hours and 10 minutes. In the last mile, it was probably the most difficult mile that I had ever experienced running because I was completely exhausted, completely spent. I knew that I had about a mile left to go, but I also knew that if I didn't finish out at the proper pace in that mile, I wasn't going to hit my goal of 3 hours and 10 minutes. Internally, I made the decision that I was going to run as hard as I possibly could. I knew I was going to hurt either way, and I leaned on the 16 weeks prior of training that Justin had given me. And for that last mile, I was able to gut it out, push through, and I'll never forget crossing the finish line of the Chicago Marathon in 3 hours, 9 minutes, and 38 seconds. I shaved 8 minutes off of my previous best, and it was because, and in no small part, to the incredible coaching that I received from Justin Garrard. A year later, because I had qualified for the Boston Marathon, I went to Boston, I ran it, had an amazing experience, was able to share that experience as I rounded the corner onto Boylston Street, which is the final stretch down as you run the finishing half mile of Boston Marathon. I saw my wife over here on the side cheering me on. It was a storybook ending, and I trace it all the way back to the decision that I made to make the investment of bringing in a coach into my experience so that I could help achieve my goal. So all of that to say, of course, it's just an analogy for any executive, any leader, any manager that is in a situation where they want to move from here to here, but their current level of discipline or perhaps accountability or even their approach is not effective in getting them from here to here in the time that they have allocated in order to reach that goal. And that is why an executive coach is so vital. At TrustCentric, we do executive coaching in a specific way. We always start with a 2-hour discovery session with each leader, and then from there we move into either a weekly or bi-weekly 45-minute Zoom session. It's intentionally 45 minutes where it provides a lot of focus, but then also a few minutes of being able to linger on that phone call before our hour is up. So we focus on 45 minutes for 12 sessions. And we only do 12 sessions because I feel like for a 3-month session, that's just enough time to really dig in from a coaching standpoint. But if you as the leader or the organization need to make a change, or if we need to move a different direction with the coaching, we can reset that at the 3-month mark and either continue on or say, you know what, that 3 months was adequate and we're going to move on to some other solutions. But the other thing with the executive coaching at TrustCentric, which is unique, is we do what's called a shared coaching model. So our goal is to equip our executive leaders with the ability to utilize these coaching sessions in order to also help coach those in their organization. So as an example, if you as the primary person receiving the executive coaching wants to invite other people in from your team, or if you want to give a couple of those sessions to another team member as a way for you to utilize the executive coaching program in order to help them, we're all for it. Then what we do is we keep detailed notes of all of our sessions, all of our meetings, any of the resources that we recommend to you. We drop it all onto a shared document. You've got full visibility into that document for your review, as well as to add any of the notes that you would like to add. And so as a result of that, you now have this archive of all of the notes from our executive coaching sessions together so that you might be able to utilize it in the future. And if down the road you want to pick up and do additional executive coaching sessions, we'll just pick right back up where we had last left off, and we can continue the dialogue without wasting a whole lot of time getting caught up on everything that we had already done in the first executive coaching program. So that being said, my encouragement for every leader, in the same way that I wanted to go from a 3:18 marathon to a 3-hour and 10 marathon to achieve a bigger goal of being able to participate in the Boston Marathon, I couldn't have done it without coaching. And so for you, what is it right now that you want to do, but you know that your current way of doing it, it's not adequate and you need additional help? You need an objective person with a different level of facilitative or subject matter expertise to come in and really help guide you along the way. And what is that particular issue that you want to move forward in order to achieve a specific goal? And ask yourself the question, is now the time for you to consider an executive coaching program with an organization like TrustCentric? If you're interested, you can go to our website, www.trustcentricconsulting.com. Shoot me an email at Cory@trustcentricconsulting.com. That's CORY. And then lastly, be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you've not already done that. And then share this information with whoever you would like. And my hope is that we can come alongside you to help you as a leader, you as a team, you as an organization, continue to build trust in meaningful ways through organizational and leadership development solutions. Thanks for joining me.